Welcome back. We're continuing forward with our stonewall defense. Okay, I've got Elijah and Joel here. They've already picked out this position here. This segment, we want to cover the stuff and the squaring of hips. Okay, all right. This is what you teach your kids about defense before you do anything else. Okay, do not do any moves, do not do any front headlocks, do not do anything until first they have mastered this, okay? You'll go a long ways. You'll get a lot of mileage out of that, trust me. Okay, so we've had a single leg shot by Joel. We've had a circle sprawl. Joel ended up getting a piece of that leg, maybe a little bit more than we want him to, okay? So now we're in this classic position, something you probably end up in 4.5 times per match. So you better get good at it. Okay, that's my advice to you. Now, this S is the stuff and the squaring of hips. Perhaps nothing's more important than the stuff and squaring of hips. And until you master that, you really can't go any further on your defense. Okay, and people need to understand there's an order. There's a sense, there's an order you have to teach your kids. It's not good enough to teach them the right stuff. It really isn't. You've got to teach them in order, okay? All right, so head position. Every coach knows if you're Joel that we're going to be screaming, keep your head up. That will tell Elijah what his #1 priority is, and that's stuff, okay? You tell your wrestlers, you ask them, where does his head belong? Make them answer you on the mat, okay? And ask them that often. So when they're in the heat of the moment, in the state finals, when the guy shoots a shot, they don't have to think. They're automatically, where's his head belong? On the mat, okay? That's the mentality that you have to give your kids, okay? Now, we want to square hips, okay? So before we even stop the squaring of hips, go ahead, just square your hips for a sec here. Watch him step over. He's going to stuff, of course, and then he's squaring his hips. That's what we call, now we're square. Right there. We're shutting down your opponent's offense. That's where you want to get. Now, you can transition from defense to offense. Okay? You want to maintain defense as little time as possible. You want to transition. Okay? And squaring of the hips will allow that. So, we're going to back up just a little bit and prove Joel's position here with he's got head position. He's in pretty good position. Okay. Now, Elijah's arching, he's stonewall. Now, before we square, you have got to get rid of his head because you can't move into his head, that's his power, unless you get rid of that. Okay, if we try to square hips now with Joel's head up, we're going to give up the takedown. So, stuff right there, okay, stuff. Now, square. Watch him step and square. Then he stonewalls like you can't believe right there, all right? That will tell your opponent he's got nothing, okay? He will lose all hope of takedown. Now he's in how do I get out of here without getting taken down mode. That's a good mode for your opponent, okay? He's no longer focusing on scoring. The only thing he's worried about is not getting scored on, okay? So rewind a little bit. Okay, I know this doesn't look like much, perhaps. This is defense. This is wrestling. Right here, stuff, right there, steps over, right there. He removes his hand. After he stuffs the head, he sets his hips up on it so he can take his hand out now and use it for bigger and better things, okay? Now, at any time, if your opponent gets the idea of bringing his head back up, you have to make that adjustment, shove it back down, and sit on his hips, right there, or sit on his head with your hips. That is the stuff and squaring up, okay? Very critical. Just do that with your kids, all right? We sometimes try to teach them too much, too fast. This is something that they need to know. You can do this in one whole practice if you want, but stuff and square. All right, come on up, guys, for a sec. All right? Right in there, that's the stuff and the square. We're going to go ahead and stop that segment right there. Again, if you have any questions, you want any more clarifications, please visit us on the G Forum, and where you can get all your questions answered because we've got an ocean full of people that have a lot of good wrestling information and knowledge and would love to hash it on over with you. So thank you, and we'll be back with more.